Hey there. Have you ever found yourself with a little extra time on your hands lately, maybe wondering how to fill those quiet afternoons? I know after 60, life can shift, maybe the kids are grown, the career's winding down, or you're just looking for something fresh to sink your teeth into. It's funny how we spend so many years rushing around, and then one day, we look up and think, what's next? Well, I'm here to tell you that this is the perfect moment to pick up a new hobby, something just for you, something that lights you up and keeps your days feeling full in the best way. Hobbies aren't just about passing the time, they're about keeping your mind sharp, your hands busy, and your heart happy. And trust me, you deserve that. So, today, we're going to dive into 5 new hobby ideas that are perfect for us folks over 60. These aren't complicated or expensive things, they're simple, fun, and easy to start, no matter where you're at in life. We'll explore how they can bring a little joy, maybe even a sense of purpose, to your everyday routine. Whether you're someone who loves being outside, getting creative, or learning something new, there's a little something here for you. Let's start with the first one, because I think it's one you've probably seen in action and maybe even thought about trying yourself: gardening. Now, gardening is one of those hobbies that feels like it was made for this stage of life. There's something so satisfying about digging in the dirt, planting a seed, and watching it grow into something beautiful, or tasty. You don't need a big space to start, either. If you've got a backyard, great, but even a few pots on a windowsill or a corner of your porch will do the trick. I remember my friend Doris, who's 67, she started with a couple of tomato plants a few summers ago because she missed the fresh ones her mom used to grow. She was hooked the first time she bit into a ripe, juicy tomato she'd nurtured herself. She told me, "It's like I'm growing my own little piece of sunshine." And that's the thing, gardening gives you that quiet thrill of creating something with your own 2 hands. Plus, it gets you outside, soaking up some fresh air and a bit of vitamin D, which we all know feels good at any age. You can start small, maybe some herbs like basil or mint if you love cooking, or a few flowers like marigolds if you just want a splash of color. All you need is a bag of soil, a pot or 2, and a spot with some sunlight. Water it, talk to it if you're feeling chatty, and before you know it, you've got a little green buddy to check on each day. It's low pressure, too. If a plant doesn't make it, you just try again. Doris swears it's taught her patience, and now she's got a whole garden patch going, complete with zucchini she shares with the neighbors. It's not just about the plants, it's about that daily rhythm, that little purpose that gets you moving and smiling. Speaking of smiling, let's move on to the next hobby, because this one's all about tapping into your creative side: painting. I know what you might be thinking, I'm no artist. But hear me out. You don't have to be Picasso to enjoy this. Painting's one of those things where the fun is in the doing, not in being perfect. Grab a cheap set of watercolors or acrylics from the store, nothing fancy, maybe $10, and a pad of paper, and you're set. Start with something simple, like a flower or a sunset, and just let the brush move. My cousin Ed, who's 72, picked this up after he retired, and he says it's like a mini vacation every time he sits down with his paints. He's no pro, his trees look more like green blobs, but he's got a grin on his face the whole time, and that's what counts. What I love about painting is how it pulls you in. You're mixing colors, figuring out how to make a sky look just right, and suddenly an hour's gone by without you even noticing. It's a great way to unwind, especially if your mind's been racing or you've had a busy day. Ed started leaving his little paintings around the house, on the fridge, by the coffee pot, and his wife says it's like living with a burst of cheer. You can even join a local class if you want company, but honestly, just messing around at home works wonders. It's your space, your rules, no one's grading you. And who knows? You might surprise yourself with what you come up with. Now that we've covered gardening and painting, let's shift gears a bit and talk about something that's perfect if you love a good story, because this next hobby's all about diving into the past in a way that feels personal and exciting. Stick with me, because we're heading into something you might not have thought of yet. Alright, so we've talked about how gardening can bring a little patch of joy to your day and how painting lets you splash some color into your life, no talent required. Now, let's dive into something that's a bit different but just as rewarding, especially if you're someone who loves a good story or has ever wondered about where you came from. This next hobby is genealogy, or tracing your family history. I know it might sound like something for history buffs or folks with fancy degrees, but trust me, it's way more fun and doable than you'd think. It's like being a detective in your own life, piecing together clues about the people who made you, you. Getting started is easier than ever these days. You don't need to dig through dusty old libraries, though that can be fun too if you're up for it. All it takes is a notebook, maybe a chat with some relatives, and a peek online. Sites like Ancestry or Family Search let you plug in what you know, your parents' names, your grandparents' birthdays, and suddenly, you're off on a treasure hunt. My friend Margaret, who's 68, got into this a couple of years ago after her sister mentioned an old family rumor about a great-uncle who might have been a sailor. She started poking around, and next thing you know, she's found ship records, a faded photo, and a whole branch of cousins she never knew about. She says it's like reading a book where you're part of the plot, every discovery feels personal. What's so great about genealogy is how it pulls you in. One minute you're looking up a birth certificate, and the next, you're imagining what life was like for your great-grandma when she was raising kids in a tiny farmhouse. It's a quiet kind of excitement, piecing together names and dates into stories. Margaret found out her sailor uncle settled in Canada, and now she's pen pals with his grandkids up there. You don't have to go that far. Sometimes it's just as fun to map out what you already know and fill in the gaps with family tales. Plus, it's a hobby you can do at your own pace, sitting with a cup of tea, letting curiosity lead the way. It keeps your mind buzzing, and it's a pretty cool legacy to pass down if you've got kids or grandkids who might want to know the story someday. Now, let's shift from looking back to looking around, because this next hobby is all about soaking in the world right outside your window, birdwatching. I can almost hear you chuckling, birds? Really? But stick with me, because this one's a sleeper hit. You don't need to be an expert or hike miles into the wilderness. It's as simple as setting up a feeder in your yard or on your balcony and watching who shows up. Grab a pair of binoculars if you've got them, nothing fancy, even the old ones in the closet will do, and maybe a little guidebook from the library to figure out who's who. My neighbor Bill, who's 71, started this after he retired, and now he's like the neighborhood bird whisperer. He's got cardinals and blue jays stopping by, and he'll tell you all about them if you let him. The beauty of birdwatching is how it slows you down in the best way. You're sitting there, maybe with a coffee in hand, and you start noticing things, the way a sparrow hops around or how a finch's song sounds different in the morning. Bill says it's like a little show every day, and he's even got a notebook where he jots down what he sees. You don't have to get that serious, sometimes it's just about the quiet joy of watching life happen. It gets you outside a bit, or at least looking out, and it's a nice excuse to breathe deep and let the day unfold. Plus, if you've got grandkids, they love hearing about the cool birds at your place. It's an easy way to play the wise, nature-loving grandparent. So, with genealogy giving you a window into your past and birdwatching tuning you into the present, let's roll into something that's all about creating a little fun for the future, because this next one's got a playful twist you might not expect. Alright, so we've explored how genealogy lets you uncover your family's hidden stories and how birdwatching turns your backyard into a front-row seat to nature's little show. Now, let's wrap this up with one more hobby that's all about sparking some fun and maybe even a few laughs, something you can share or keep all to yourself. This last idea is picking up a ukulele. I know, it might sound out of left field, but hear me out, this little instrument is a gem for us over 60. It's easy to learn, light on the hands, and before you know it, you're strumming a tune that'll have you smiling, maybe even tapping your foot. You don't need to be a musician to start, trust me, I'm no pro, and I've seen this work wonders. A decent ukulele costs maybe 30 or 40 bucks, and it's small enough to hold comfortably, even if your fingers aren't as nimble as they used to be. The magic is in those 4 strings. They're simple to press, and with just a couple of chords, you can play something recognizable, like, "You Are My Sunshine," or "Somewhere Over the Rainbow." My pal Joan, who's 66, got one on a whim after seeing a grandkid strum it at a family party. She found some free lessons online, YouTube's full of them, and within a week, she was plucking out "Happy Birthday" for her husband. She says it's like a little burst of joy every time she picks it up, and now she's the star at their porch sing-alongs. What I love about the ukulele is how it sneaks up on you. You start with a chord or two, messing around for 10 minutes here and there, and suddenly you're hooked. It's not about being perfect, it's about the sound, that bright, cheerful twang that lifts your spirits. Joan keeps hers by the couch, and she'll strum a bit while the TV's on, just for fun. It's gentle on the joints, too, so if arthritis is a thing for you, it's still doable with a little practice. And if you're feeling social, you can join a local group. Lots of towns have ukulele clubs popping up, or just play for the dog, who's probably your biggest fan anyway. It's a hobby that says, "Hey, I've still got some play in me," and it's hard to argue with that. So, there you have it, 5 ways to fill your days with something new: gardening to grow a bit of beauty, painting to splash some color, genealogy to dig into your roots, birdwatching to watch the world flutter by, and ukulele to strum a little happiness. Each one's a small step, nothing overwhelming, but they all add up to something big, keeping your mind buzzing, your hands busy, and your heart full. I think about Doris with her tomatoes, Ed with his paintbrush, Margaret with her family tree, Bill with his birds, and Joan with her ukulele, and it hits me, this is what these years are for. Not slowing down, but picking up what lights you up, whatever that might be. Take a second and think, what's one of these that might fit your life? Maybe you've got a sunny spot for a plant, or an old paint set collecting dust, or a family story you've always meant to chase down. You don't have to do them all, just one could be your next adventure. I'd love to hear what you think. Drop a comment below and tell me which one's calling your name, or maybe a hobby you're already loving. It's all about sharing the good stuff, right? And if this sparked a little excitement for you, give the video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. I've got more ideas coming to keep these years golden. Here's to finding your fun, your way, because you've earned every bit of it.